Welcome to Season 2 of Producer Points. My name is Justin Gamella, and I'll be your host. I'm a producer and songwriter who's had the honor of working with some of the best in the industry. This season, we're diving even deeper into one-on-one conversations with producers, mixers, songwriters, and artists, exploring their unique journeys, creative process, and insights that shape great music. Join me for real talks, straight from the studio, where music and life intersect. This is Producer Points. Today on Producer Points, we're joined by one of the most inspiring and accomplished producers in modern music. His journey is the epitome of passion meeting perseverance, a story that begins with his roots as the son of Indian immigrants and a promising future in medicine, only to pivot toward his true calling, music. He's one of the geniuses behind Shaboozey's A Bar Song, a groundbreaking track that tied the all-time Billboard Hot 100 record of 19 weeks to number one. His work with artists like JoJo, phem, Cyrus, Upsahl, Cal, Pretty Much, CNCO, and many more showcases his ability to blend genres and push boundaries. From crafting relatable anthems to developing raw talent, his ability to weave storytelling with innovation has cemented him as one of the most versatile producers in the game. Get ready to hear one of the most inspiring stories in music and join me in welcoming Nevin Sastry. Dude, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
You just gassed me up so much.
Good. That's the point. I want to really gas everyone up before they come here so they feel really confident. And then they can just spill all the beans.
Spill the beans, mess up.
Dude. And, we'll just ruin your career. That's perfectly fine. Make you so comfortable. But dude, thank you so much. We were just talking about this before we started recording. Like, I haven't seen you in almost 3 years, which has been a long time. We used to hang out a lot more at our mutual buddy DJ's house. I used to see you there all the time. Good times. We went out a couple times, I remember, but dude, it's so good to see you. So nice to have you here. How have you been?
I mean, I've been good, man.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy. We definitely met at Cal's release when Cal had his release thing.
Yes.
And then
Cal Shapiro, for our listeners who may not know who Cal is.
Who's the best.
Yes.
But you and David, we were just hanging out. I feel like this is the year before COVID. Yeah. And then just you became a dad.
I became a dad. Started a podcast as one does when you hit 35.
Yeah. Is that the trajectory?
I guess so.
I have some friends. I got to make sure they're up to date.
I know. It's like there's the joke where it's like, oh, a 35-year-old white guy starts another podcast. Like exactly what we need. But dude, really, thank you again for doing this. I've been so, it's funny. I was going to ask you last season and for some reason, I didn't. I was just like, I felt like I had already asked too many people, and I was always saving you for next season. And my luck that your song blew up right after I asked you. So it was just by happenstance, and I just think it's so incredible. But you're having such an incredible year. But I want to go back to the beginning. I want you to tell our listeners your story of how you started, because I know some of your story from our past conversations, but I'm just so excited for our listeners to hear it.
Okay, so I was born in Columbus, Ohio. Indian parents, not a lot of music and Indian immigrant culture, I guess. So I started playing piano when I was 7. I hated it, but my parents made me keep doing it, all for that resume.
Right.
And then I first played guitar. I was visiting my cousin in India, and she had it was a guitar that was a knockoff of Gibson called Gibson. And I played it for a second and I was like, oh my God. Because I was super into Metallica at the time.
Yeah.
And just connecting that I could play things that, I listened to.
Wait, so you were super into Metallica?
I was obsessed with Metallica.
Dude, I was obsessed. They were my first concert I ever went to.
Really? Yeah. Oh, man, I wish. Mine was Steve Vai. You know Steve Vai?
I know Steve Vai. Yeah, that was my jam. I loved those kind of things.
I was a guitar nerd.
I know. It's so rare to see pop producers who love Metallica. I love Metallica.
Yeah, I feel like there are people out there.
Maybe they just don't say it.
Yeah, I feel like there's a pipeline of people who get into metal or metal adjacent things. Yeah. And then the technicality of it kind of branches off where they're like, wait, why does everybody like the same thing?
Yeah.
And then you become a pop guy.
Yeah. Oh my God, amazing. Okay, so you're in India, you get
Yeah, I play around on that. I tell my mom I need a guitar. And she's like, sure. And I don't believe her because she's happier in India, or at least at the time. And so my 12-year-old cousin made a contract that she had to buy me a guitar within a month. And lo and behold, got a guitar, got obsessed with it. Asked my parents probably when I was like 16. I was like, I want to go to school for music. They were like, absolutely not.
No.
So I was like, okay, fair enough. I went to school. I studied. I sound obnoxious every time I say it, but I studied neuroscience and philosophy in undergrad. And the whole time was like playing guitar in my room or just like around the homies. Like,
where were you going to school?
University of Pittsburgh.
Nice.
And tried to make a band, not enough people to make a band, and just jammed. And then it was only once I started working, and I like started to produce and do other stuff then. But once I started working, I worked at the National Institute of Health in DC after I graduated. And like just having a job,
right?
Where I was like, oh, I do this every day. And I'm like, oh, because I feel like I could get into the idea of me being like a psychiatrist or like somebody who would like write things or be received away. But then I'm like, oh, I have to do it every day.
Yeah,
like, it's very different. The practice of doing something every day. And then the whole time I was still doing music, and there wasn't any other, there was no like reward there. I was just doing it already. So I started to like really think about how to make things happen. And then I'm drawing out this story. You're getting all the details.
Yeah.
I first started by playing like songwriter shows in like the DC area. And
almost like open mics, or more like almost like a songwriter battle of the bands. Is that what it's like?
Not even really. I call them songwriter because you're just like you and acoustic guitar.
Okay.
But it was mostly covers, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it. But it'd be like going to a random bar and being like, hey, does anybody play here? Can I play here?
Yeah.
And then just playing like 2 hours of covers and inviting all the people I knew from my job. Yeah, and doing all of that, and then slowly I realized I'm like, oh, this isn't how a career like happens.
Right.
Like, there's no like path.
Right. You don't want to be known as like he's the guy that does the covers at the bar.
Well, yeah, it's just like that doesn't lead to like bigger bars.
Right.
And like eventually you get like a stake of like drink sales or something.
Yeah, no.
Maybe it does actually.
Who
I don't
knows?
know.
You never know.
But yeah, so from that I was like, fuck, I have to learn how to produce. Because up until that point, I liked producing for the end product, but I hated how I feel like anytime I'd get super into producing, I got worse at guitar, or I got worse at certain things. It was just so much more of a different...
it's so true. Like, I always say, like, I was a better guitar player 10 years ago when I was in a band.
Yeah.
And I was playing every day.
It's very sad.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's like a different thing. It's like I chose to be a better producer and, like, not be as good as guitar, where it's like, okay, I can sit here and, like, do 10 takes to make sure I get the guitar part right, versus like, oh, I have to play this live and it has to be perfect.
Yeah. It would be nice, though, to have both. But yeah, I feel like the like hemorrhaging of skills was something I would get worried about.
Yeah.
But then I was like, this is the only way. So I, made and mixed and mastered an EP that I will never say the artist's name because I'm very ashamed of it, but it is on Spotify.
It's there.
But honestly, that was, I guess, good enough for me I made a spreadsheet of all the local bands in DC. And then I emailed like every single band. And one of them was this producer, Grey Goon, or Doug Walter, who ended up, he does mostly video game sound design now, but the dude's the best. He basically actually was the only person who got back to my email and was like, come by and like, let's jam. And he had the most legit studio I'd seen up to that point with like, NS10s and like a Juno. And I was like, whoa, shit. And we worked one day. It was really good. I didn't see him for months, but I would like, he was like the one that I met that really did it.
Right.
And he said he was moving to LA soon. And then I remember like 6 months later, I'm still like doing whatever music, but I'm like, I had a contract with the NIH for 2 years, right? And then I had to go to med school after it was done. Like it was kind of very locked in time-wise.
Yeah.
So I was applying to med school around this time, and I'm sort of seeing like the door close. And I'm like, okay, the only thing I can do is I need to get into med school to defer, I suppose.
Right. Did your parents know you were doing all this music stuff while you were working?
I mean, they knew I was doing it in the sense of like, I would be like, no, it makes me a well-rounded candidate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was definitely shooting for it. And like with the kind of, door closing, I'm like, okay, I have one real option. The route to me was always, if I get into med school and then defer, my family can't really say anything.
Right.
Because they're like, okay, well, you got in.
Right.
And then in that year, I'll figure it out.
Right.
So I applied. I got into exactly one med school.
That's all you need.
You only need one.
You only need one.
Florida International.
There you go.
And then they granted me a deferral. And right before, as all this stuff is happening, I'm freaking out. I email Doug again and I'm like, dude, I don't know what to do. I really want a career in music. And he's like, you should move to LA. Like, I wish I moved here sooner.
Right.
And I'm like, fair point. And he's like, I will put my money where my mouth is and you can crash on my couch for like a week.
Amazing.
And this, now hindsight, knew him for like 8 hours one day. And like, thank God he was like, this guy is like not too weird.
Right. He got into med school, so he can't be that bad.
Yeah, I guess so. But he let me crash there. That was, I worked at a studio, kind of learned a little bit of studio culture, and then went back like a month later in the summer and rented a studio for a week and like showered at LA Fitness, like did the whole thing.
Oh my God.
And yeah, that was right around that time. I had the deferral granted. I had to kind of like, I had a relationship at the time that had to sort of reach its conclusion for me to be like, okay, I have to go to LA. I have no excuse. Came out here with him being really the only person I knew. And he basically showed me some other artists he was working on. He really like kind of mentored me and like talked about, what he sort of thought was cool. And one of the artists on the playlist was Shaboozey. And I remember hearing it and being like, dude, this is fucking insane. Like, who is this dude? And then
around what year was this?
This is 2016, like around the end. Like the summer of 2016 was like when the deferral was granted. I think I moved out here. I arrived on Halloween of 2016. So there's like this in between with like a couple trips to LA. I think I'd met Shaboozey on the like first trip I had to LA. And then, once I came to LA and moved in, within 2 weeks, Buzi and I started working all the time. And then within like a month, we were basically living together.
Crazy.
And just, he was crashing on the futon at the studio apartment. We're just working nonstop. And then even back then, I kind of had a feeling where I was like, okay, because I had this like extraordinary pressure on this year. Because I'm like, I need something to show me that I'm not being, because it wasn't just my family. It's also just knowing how the world is. I'm like, everybody wants to do music. Like there's no, like, I need a good reason to turn down all the work I put into going to med school.
Right.
And then, but like, my soul is yearning to not be a doctor. So then, I worked with some other artists, but I was like, dude, I'm just going to put all my eggs in this Shaboozey basket because I just think if I was a record exec, I would sign him.
Right.
And we had this just working. We put out a song called Winning Streak that ended up, I think Bella Hadid made a video like skydiving to it on Instagram.
Sick.
And then it went viral, which also, it wasn't like, it's funny because it's not like that crazy in numbers, but they're just so like, it's so new.
Right.
That it like blows your mind. But from that, there was enough momentum. My friend was working at Republic from college and she ended up bringing in Buzi to Republic. And he signed like right as my year was kind of coming up to an end. And I was like, okay, an artist got signed that I like believed in within 7 months.
Right.
I'm going to bet on myself. I don't think I need to go to med school. And my parents were
devastated.
So upset. And then around that time, because Shaboozey was signed to Wendy Goldstein, who met me and was like, I know another Indian songwriter. It's Savin Kotecha. And for anybody, I guess, who doesn't know.
Who doesn't know him, he's one of the most successful songwriters of the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, he's done just so many things. He did like God is a Woman, and he did That's What Makes You Beautiful, and I'm sure there's like a gazillion.
There's a gazillion more. Huge,
huge. Very consistent hit maker. But Wendy introduced me to him, and then when my parents were visiting, my dad's visiting, and the whole time he's just like, this guy is an idiot. Like he thinks that he's gonna be all right, and like I can't believe he did this. And then I asked Savin if he would have coffee with me and my dad. And so we went to the coffee meeting and he basically offered me a deal in front of my dad.
Wow.
Which, like, I've never seen my dad jaw dropped, but he like literally was. So he did that. It still took a year to actually sign to him because he had to, but like that was the crazy year. It got to like play beats to Max like a Buzi sign. So we're like navigating the label system and I'm starting to understand the like significance of teams and
Right.
the right management, the right
the
A&R.
politics of everything.
Yeah, and like how necessary, equally important, if not more, to whatever artist situation. And yeah, at the end of that sort of year, you know, like I think like the team wasn't necessarily in place in terms of the larger thing because like, you know, Shaboozey and I were 2 kids in a studio apartment
Right.
and like just ended up here. But that was right around the time Savin signed me. And then, so what? That's 2018. Then the rest of, 2018. I'm sorry. I'm like
No, good. That's
So then signing to Savin, brand new world where it's like, I cannot understate the like level of like mental gymnastics I had to do to arrive from like yesterday I was going to be a doctor and now I, you know, am going to be a career producer, I guess. But
before signing to Savin, and were you mostly just working with Shaboozey, or were you doing a lot of like the session dating thing, or did that ever even happen?
I mean, I did, while he was scoping me, I did some random sessions, which were, you know, pretty crazy.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, I think the first one I went to MXM, which is ridiculous because it's like a compound.
Right. MXM for our listeners is like Max Martin's like publishing company house, and it's like there's just a bunch of producers and writers there.
It's in Frank Sinatra's old house, and it's right in Beverly Hills, and it's just like a weird magic place.
Yeah.
But I remember I played him some beats, and he was like, 1 second. And then he brought Ariana in. And I'm like, dude, I literally was just a doctor, like, or about to be one. So then just being in a studio environment, managing time, managing like things, knowing like, oh, I have to engineer, but I have to do this, I have to do that. It was just very different than like what I was just like intuitively like, I think this artist is dope. I want to make dope shit with them. And now all of a sudden there's all this other stuff.
Right.
So then I honestly was just spinning for like a year and a half doing stuff. I remember like listening back to demos from a whole week and being like, I hate all of these. Like, what am I doing?
Well, I think this is like a good thing to talk about because I find that there are producers that you either kind of go one of two ways. Not always. You can always do both. But you either kind of go one or two ways where it's like, cool, I love working with artists and I'm going to dive in deep and do that. Or it's like, I'm a pure pitch kind of producer. And I think kind of figuring out what you do is key to your success. And you kind of have to go through those motions.
Yeah.
To figure it out. And like you were saying, it took you like a year to like kind of figure that out. And like what were the things kind of going through your mind during that process?
I mean, I'd say it took me a year that year culminated with I had a panic attack that landed me in the hospital.
Fun.
Because I realized I was just putting all this pressure on like, okay, I need to be as successful as I would be if I was like an attending physician tomorrow. And so I need to recoup with this beat that I'm making right now.
Yeah.
And like that pressure was just so like slowly wore away at me.
You can't live like that.
No, you can't. And like there's also like when I was working a job that I, you know, didn't really love and all this stuff, the space that music took up in my life kind of allowed me to like mostly metabolize negative emotions to make music. Right. And then when it was my job, it was like, okay, now I have to operate off of being like depressed, which is terrible. Like that's a terrible way to live. And so I had to like relearn inspiration and like the approach I had to music, and not everything has to like come from devastating loss. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that year was like the required for me to understand like, okay, I like to be a career producer. Once again, it's every day. Like, how am I going to do this? And then it took me like the whole time with Savin, I think, or at least that time, because it's not even just Savin, it's just like the publishing company that was set up. It was very small.
Right.
I was like the first person signed there. So there's just like a lot of new stuff. And I see it as like really, it was seminal for me of like absorbing new instincts of the more pop world. But it did also kind of require me stepping away from what my gut instinct was, which was like, this person's dope. I'm just going to help them make dope shit.
Yeah.
But also that changes when it's like an indie artist, that's all good. But once you're at a label, it's like, even if a lot of people love it, there's so many ways and like politics that can get in the way of that. So yeah, it took a while I'd say the time with Savin was marked by the, you know, that instinct absorbing, understanding like sessions, understanding like the technical side. I also did all the music for this kids show, and I'd have to mix and master that, and that was very.
Sure, it's a great learning experience though to like
it was
teach how to
incredible.
learn, because I know shows like that, they're like fast. They need it.
Yeah, and it's just you're also getting like very vague, weird notes.
Yes.
And like you have to just read people's minds. And especially for me being like I was learning this in a basement and like just kind of, bullshitting my way. And now I have to mix it for TV.
Yeah.
Even if it's like, I'm sure I would listen to those mixes and be like, these are terrible. But at the time, just getting to a place where I'm like, okay, this could be on TV and I think people will be okay with it.
Right.
And that was just like technical. That was the gym. That was boot camp.
That for me was, I used to do a lot of sync stuff before I moved out to LA.
Yeah.
And it was just like that kind of situation, I think, is such a great learning experience, in that like you learn how to throw your ego away and just like take notes.
Yeah.
From someone where you're like, okay, I disagree with this, but like it's easier when it's like for sync or when it's for like a TV show where it's like, okay, I'm not putting my whole heart into this.
And this is a secondary component of this medium.
But it's still something you have to learn. Like learning, like someone telling you like, I don't like what you did is like a learned skill.
Dude, I'm still learning. I was realizing this the other day, but I still don't fully know how to like, like every time I show something to somebody, I'm a 3-year-old showing a drawing.
Yeah, of course.
And I still don't know how to like fully get past that. I don't know if I ever will, but I really like would love to not take it so personally.
You never not take it personally, but I think it's just in how you learn how to react to it better.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know how to react to it now on a very professional level, but within my like own personal emotional ecosystem, I think it's like it's just fascinating how you just like you care a lot about something and you convince yourself it's good. And then if somebody doesn't necessarily see eye to eye on that, there are times when I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're doing that, which is also, I think, a very important skill.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's good to know that sometimes. It's good to know when to like really put your foot down and be like, nah, this is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And
like, go down even if everybody disagrees and it doesn't change anything.
Right.
Having that is like pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's like learning when and when not to. It's always the toughest thing in the world to do. I do the thing I do a lot, which I give this advice a lot out, is someone gives me notes and I'll write out the text or the email where I just say what I truly want to say and then just delete it. Just like get it out of my system and then be like, okay, now I'll write the real response and be like, okay, I'll try that. Like, sure, no problem. As opposed to like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, you have no idea.
Yeah.
And just to like get it out. And I find it so cathartic.
Yeah.
It's for me personally, I think it's been a great tip for myself, whereas it's like
just write it out and then delete it.
Even if I just write it out in a note, so I make sure I don't hit send by accident, just to like I don't know, it's like therapy to me.
Yeah,
it's like
I've definitely done that before.
Yeah, I think it's a really great way to do it. Okay, I want to move ahead on to your time spent with Shaboozey and how long it took for him to like for people to understand what he was doing and how awesome it was.
Yeah.
What was, that journey like, I guess the 6 years that you guys were like working together?
So, I mean, really from 2016, when we started, the first project we made, I would consider kind of a country project.
Yeah.
Where it was very like this like 70s, like the first thing I saw that blew my mind is Buzi made this video to a song he made called Robert Plant, and he sampled like a Robert Plant vocal and made this crazy trap song, and it was all like fucking crazy bars, like I pulled the G string like Jimmy Page. So I mean I went into it just like, oh dude, I love like classic rock and all that shit and guitar shit, and I love hip hop, and this is just dope to me. But then from that, we made this whole like country thing, and we're like, I don't know if this would get received right just yet.
Right.
And so then we made a whole other thing, and that's where we got the records that we had that came out around that time are very like much more like pop rap.
Yeah.
And I think kind of they read as more unfocused, when really it was like we had, that's like maybe a sixth of all of the like the massive
that you guys were making,
and like things that were like pretty fleshed out, not necessarily like finished or mixed. But I mean, we had like a full mixed project that I think originally going into signing was we were like, wanted to drop, but then you just like kind of
What made you
passes.
guys not want to do it? Was it like your own kind of fears or whatever you want to call it? Or was it more the label being like, I don't know if we're ready for this?
No, because the label was on board for all of it. And I think that, look, as somebody who's like put out songs that I've sang on and written and all that, like the level of like anxiety that I feel like you get from like, this is who I am and this is whatever, when it's like your face and everything is like debilitating. And when you're an artist like now, I mean, Buzi's like a full business.
Right.
With like, people that work off of just like his taste and what his voice sells and all this stuff. And so like, I think, because I was 24, he was 21. Like, I don't know I think for everything to have gone right would have required like a really incredible, like, not just like a manager, like management, like a full team where it's like you have the right, the right day-to-day, the right, all these people. And by the right, I mean like they interact with each other, right? And like, it's just such a big machine that I just think there was no possible way that it could have connected. And honestly, I'm kind of grateful, because what if we dropped that first country thing and something took off and then we're both out here having no idea what the hell to do.
Right.
And
it's that big thing. It was like, I'm not super spiritual, but like everything happens for a reason kind of a thing where it's like, we probably weren't ready to like do that kind of thing. Yeah.
And I mean, it's easy for me to say now. I feel like I'm really glad that I had sort of like a mini like break in the sense of like signing to Savin and having his imprint gave me like some modicum of like, oh, who's this guy? But it wasn't like, if I had a hit back then, I think I would have like, I don't know. I just don't think I would have known how to.
Oh, dude, I feel the same way.
Continue it.
I didn't start being like a full-time music producer until I was like 26, 27. And I think back, like, I see some kids doing it, like they're like 18, 19, 20 years old, like killing it. And I was like, I don't think I was ready at that age to like fully do it and fully like have the maturity and the, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it, doesn't matter. But just to be able to do it how I do it now. And I mean, but yeah, I mean, even just going back to that situation, I just think it like, it really required a good way of even looking at it, right? Is so we worked, we did all this stuff, we did that project. And then over the years, I would say 2019 to 2022 was more of my time, like leaning in on the Savin stuff and, doing sync stuff, doing other stuff. We worked a little, but, he was going through his journey. And in that time, he released a super awesome album called Cowboys Live Forever, Outlaws Never Die, which I'm grateful I got to work on on there. But a lot of it was done by my co-producer now, Sean Cook, who, what he kind of offered to Buzi was something that I didn't have that we needed, And it's obvious now because, like, with this last album, it was just us three really doing the whole thing. And it, like, the balance was achieved. And that combined with, I think right after Buzi and I were working all the time is when he found his new managers, really, Abbas and Jared. And then signing to Empire, having, like, the right A&R, Sakpase is incredible. And just everything, like booking, all the
like
little
the whole
things
band
need to fall in place. That's just how it goes. And like being an artist is such a, like you were saying before, it's such a team thing. I think a lot of even producers sometimes don't realize, like you have listeners that definitely don't realize it all, but like just how much goes into when you want an artist to be big. There's so much that goes on behind it. The branding, the identity, the touring, the everything about it.
If you are like fortunate enough, I feel like, to have an artist that you're like genuine friends with, like have like a moment like this, like I would say like one thing I've been lucky to do and been trying to do a lot of is like go check out the show or like go visit him in another city. Because like the scope of like the music is everything, but it's also like such a small part. Like there's like a lot of times I wasn't even thinking about the fact like, okay, wait, you have your tour manager, but you also have your like merch guy and you have like your playback guy, like somebody's not even on stage, but such a seminal part of a live performance that it completely falls apart without them. And like all of these people are on the road and this is their everyday, combined with even like a manager of an artist like that, like you're managing the scheduling of all these opportunities and the weighing, like, hey, should they do like this show which pays more but maybe has less cred,
Right.
or like this thing which is like a whole moment, and like, well, do they need more visibility right now or do they need more time to work on music?
Yeah.
And then me over here is like, if I stay in my studio, I just get mad.
Right.
I'm like thinking that people have some kind of agenda that, like, they're not even thinking of me. Very understandably, they shouldn't.
Right. It's like nah, like we got like this whole other thing to do, and it's like the one thing that I can usually tell between a good team and a bad team, in my couple years of doing this now, is when a team is thinking long term versus short term.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned it a couple times on the podcast. Like, I shared managers with Billie Eilish and Phineas, and I got to like see the decisions they made to get Billie to be like where she eventually became, like one of, if not the biggest artist in the world. And every single decision they made, especially in those early days, was long-term thinking. They turned down a lot of money and a lot of big opportunities because they were like, this will be better long-term.
Yeah.
And it's like, I try and like see what teams are doing with artists that I work with, where it's like, are they just trying to get a feature right now so they have some money to do this thing? Or are they thinking like, okay, we shouldn't do this because like it might not be the best look, you know, over the next, like, you know, it's always a hard decision.
See, that's what
make.
I'm kind of realizing is we don't even know, because we don't know aside from whatever our taste is.
Yeah.
Like we can never know the full behind the scenes of, maybe, you know, the artist really wanted to do whatever feature that you're, you know, not into or you think is the wrong choice. It's just like, if you are lucky enough to be a part of a team that is like finding success, like, I feel like you just have to keep trusting the team.
That's what I mean.
And do your best. And also, know when you're like, I stand my ground and I believe in this. But I think like trusting the larger ecosystem. It's also like, it's so easy to not think about, it's about every relationship, meaning like my relationship with, it comes down to like my relationship with the merch guy even.
Yeah.
And not in terms of like me getting whatever cut or whatever, but in terms of like the overall situation being like functional and kind of having communication is just, it's crazy. And also, this is like when I was in like full pitch land, like pop producer land, it's like I'm thinking of all this, like, this song is so great, like this has to work for this person or whatever. I'm not thinking about logistically. I'm now grateful to be on kind of the other side, but it's like, I get sent a bunch of songs that I think are incredible and no brainers, but then it's like, realistically, when am I in the studio? Like, it's about the amount of time I have in the studio with this person and what we're directed towards. And it's like, you know, it's like a logistical problem. It's not even like, you know, it's
right. You only have so much time and like so many records to make, and it's just like, you know, then you're like, oh, we'll have a record that is kind of doing this thing already, and you know, it's always bigger.
Like, if there's say there was a record for an artist that is like a fucking crazy ballad that requires an incredible performance, and you have one day with the artist and their voice is gone, like,
that's it.
Or, you know what I mean? You're now, you just have to think on the fly and do something else. And like, instead of like, I sent this song in and they took stems and nothing happened. Like, was the song not good enough? It's like, no, the song was plenty good. There was just,
there's
like,
other factors.
There's so many that you just like can't tally. But
dude, I fucking love all that. I want to move on to the next thing.
Sure.
And talk a little bit more nerdy.
Hell yeah.
in producer land. So I wanted to talk about some of your processes. And one of the things that I always have admired about you is you're a guitar guy. I remember too, I don't know if you remember this, like Dave and I like kind of worked on a track that you wrote. And
the JoJo track.
But I like, and what I learned from that, and then going back to some of the Shaboozey stuff, that you have like kind of like a unique guitar sound.
Oh, thank you.
That you like to do. But what's your normal kind of guitar process for when you're producing out stuff?
It really kind of depends. And it's kind of gone in eras, but I think I'm just like dope parts. Like, I want like a part by itself to have like character and vibe.
Yes.
Like, and almost be like, okay, this is like a dope post melody guitar, but like, does it by itself make me think of like a whole movie or something? And I like the idea of like weaving only that level of part into a production with like, obviously limited ideas, but then I feel like that's a big part of it. It's also like, I'm just big on like, I don't know, like just riffs,
Yeah.
just like
I'm-
catchy shit that and going around with chords. I definitely like, I also spent a really long time not producing, but playing guitar and almost like when I was in high school, I was like reverse engineering pop songs and figuring out how to play like whatever melodies as I'm
Right.
playing the bass root. So yeah, I feel like all of it kind of, I'm like very arrangement minded,
Right.
I guess.
Which is always, I think that's what people like sometimes like forget, in that it's like, oh yeah, I'm using, you know, this guitar amp and this mic and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, none of that matters if the part isn't good. If the arrangement's not right, if like the riff isn't cool enough or catchy enough, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. And all of that is secondary. So yeah, I think like the arrangement part of it is so good. But just to get our producers a little bit mouthwatery, what's your normal like processing for when you're doing guitars?
Yeah, I mean, I was forever just like DI. It depends on electric or acoustic.
Right.
For electric,
We'll stick to electric for now.
Forever just like it was just DI the front of the Apollo, and then just I love Neural DSP or like, you know, guitar rig, just any kind of thing. I would also like over COVID, I got real into like melodizing guitars and just doing weird things, trying to process it differently because I think it just write cooler on a guitar.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it, I'm just seeing kind of what I can get out of it.
But
electrics are a blast and so much easier in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's especially like in a session where it's like I don't have to tell everyone like shut the fuck up, I got to record this.
Oh yeah, it's
you know
great.
what I mean? With like an acoustic, it's like let me just put this down.
It's like pianos and acoustics. They're the easiest to write a song on.
Yep.
And the hardest to like make sound great.
Yeah, dude, it's so annoying. I'm also like even just like thinking on guitar, I'm like this close to getting one of those like MIDI electric guitars.
I've thought about that.
They're like not crazy. They're getting better now, and they feel like because it's like a real guitar now.
Yeah.
And it's like it's just MIDI. I'm just like man, because I like same thing. I think so much differently.
Yeah.
Because I'm a piano player first, but when I'm playing guitar, I'm just like nah, I'm doing very very different things. Even for like bass lines, I'll actually play it on bass a lot of the time, and then you can do this in many DAWs. I'm in Pro Tools when I do this, but just like taking my bass line and just like making it MIDI, like things like that, I just find so
yeah
useful.
No, I mean that's definitely. I should consider the MIDI guitar.
Dude, if like that's how you write best, like I think you should.
Yeah.
It's the jam stick or whatever.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before it was just like a shitty like stick, and now it's like an actual guitar. I'm like, okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, having like a no latency, not mess up kind of thing would be incredible.
Yep. I'm curious too. I don't know. This is maybe someone can get back to us on this. I'm curious if like I can like do different tunings on the jamstick and it'll pick it up.
I wonder.
Yeah, right? I
feel like you can't for some reason.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
no,
curious.
that wouldn't be that hard though. That should be pretty easy.
Right?
The tech of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have like I mean for the past like 2-3 years I've been into like super like weird tunings just because like
same. I feel like everybody has been so into weird tunings for
I think it just gets like everyone excited where it's like they're so used to hearing guitar chords one way, and then I like tune the guitar where they're like, "Whoa, what's that?" And it's like, "Oh,
I feel like honestly, like it's rough out there for live musicians right now because everything is like some kind of weird tuning. Where there's so many things that I realize I've like tuned my guitar to one specific thing that I couldn't tell you what it was.
No,
or it was in like E flat already, and then I like put it into drop D, but then like tuned one thing down.
Yeah. I constantly have to like remind myself to like put in the notes somewhere in the session of like what I did to the guitar.
Oh God, that's a good idea.
Because like it's not even like if I have to re-record it, it's usually like when the artist is like, "Hey, I want to play this song live,"
That's what
and
it
I'm
is.
like, "Oh, I don't remember what I did," and then
I feel like I always end up just sending like a shitty video on iPhone.
That's what I do. There was one for this artist. Her name is Olita. We did this great song, Ashley, and like I just did a weird tuning. But it was like the song was in A, and I ended up tuning, I think 3 of the strings to A to get like I think at the time I was kind of trying to do like a Goo Goo Dolls thing.
Yeah,
and that's
what it always is.
Right,
it's
that's what
always a
that's
Goo
what
Goo
you're always
Doll
trying to
thing.
do. But like I didn't remember, and it took me like I shit you not like 2 hours to like figure out what I did. It was so annoying.
You know, there's one song on the Shaboozey album called Annabelle that Sean and I. So Mason Sachs did the demo, and we had this demo guitar, and it had this tone that we were like trying to figure out, and we did all these voicings on our acoustic to try to like get it because his was like a 57, like it wasn't like hi-fi. And then we were just like, all right, we just need to bring him in. We bring him in. He was playing it on a baritone the whole time. That was it. That was it. And it was deceiving because it wasn't like
A baritone acoustic?
yeah, baritone acoustic, but there was no notes that were below what an acoustic could play.
Right.
Like the voicings he was doing were all like
Just unique.
but like they didn't sound like we could. I thought I was playing the same thing, but it was just like the tonality. Anyways, it was hilarious when we saw him like just take out the baritone.
Yeah,
we were like, oh my
ah,
God.
you motherfucker. I know the baritone acoustic is on my next list. I have a baritone guitar.
I just got this baritone guild.
Ooh.
It's a 8-string.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So it's like a normal baritone, but the D and G string are doubled like a 12-string.
Oh.
That sounds crazy.
That
sounds like Andy McKee. Sounds like August Rush.
But that's what I want. I want like super unique guitars. That like everyone's like, what is that? Like that's what I'm like striving for whenever I'm like buying guitars now. Where it's like, okay, I have a Strat, I have a Tele, like they do the things.
Yeah.
And now it's like when I'm buying guitars or basses that I'm like, I want super unique.
There's also so much like vintage out there that's like not the like most. I just went on like kind of a spree.
Good.
Getting like a bunch of like new. Most of it is honestly acoustics. They're just like acoustics that do different things.
Yeah, that's
like
a
parlor or like like I don't know. Just
did you buy a rubber bridge yet?
No, I haven't gotten the rubber bridge.
You gotta get a rubber
Everybody
bridge.
loves the
I to be fair, I was on it early. I was on it like 4 years ago. But I have a couple. I custom made I have a Tele that I custom made into a baritone rubber bridge that like is.
You would custom make it. That's awesome though.
But it's like a sound that like you cannot recreate. It's like it's that guitar. I have a song coming out Friday. I'll tell you about it. That like it's the sound of the record. And it's like everyone was like, oh, that's like it's anyway. I'm super excited to see like how it's received.
Yeah.
It made doing that guitar worth it, hopefully.
Yeah. I've never heard, I think, like a rubber bridge electric.
Yeah. I have 2. I converted 2 of them.
Okay, so you're like a full convert.
Because it does a thing, and it's just like, again, it's just a different flavor sometimes, and it's like, I don't know. I am obsessed with them, though. I'm like, a lot of the artists that I love, like, do that kind of sound. And I'd like, also my favorite instrument is a cello.
Yeah, wait, do you play cello?
No, I don't. I don't play any. I have like a violin up here that I attempted to play when I was 16, and it did not go well. But I love the sound of like a plucked cello. And that's what it reminds me of.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's why like I gravitate towards it.
Cello is an incredible instrument. I wish it was easier to like learn strings, but like to just even it to be passable for like a recording, you need like years.
You need years, and you need like I have a guy that I use that's great. I'm assuming you guys, because like there's strings all
we have
Shaboozey stuff that they sound incredible. Okay, I want to move on to my next question that I had here about a little bit more specific stuff. Is something you do with Shaboozey a lot, and I noticed it on the song Vegas, but obviously it's in a bar song too. But the fucking whistle.
Oh yeah.
What is happening? Because you guys have like I feel like a pretty distinct whistle sound.
I don't know. That wasn't conscious. I think it's just me whistling.
It's you whistling
and doing that maybe, or like putting like a piece of paper in front.
So it's you whistling.
I mean, I don't know if it was me whistling on. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna on Vegas. 100%. It's me.
Because the Vegas one, I was like, there's a lot more whistle happening in that record.
Yeah,
and that's why I was like, cool.
That's 100%. Oh yeah, no. I think the biggest thing is just how do you get close to the mic and not get the wind sound.
Yeah, I mean, like from a producer engineer standpoint, like what kind of processing? What's like because I'm sure a lot of people like have a lot of trouble doing whistles.
Yeah, I feel like I used to.
Yeah,
because I also was just never happy with the whistle. But I feel like a little Melodyne and then like being slightly like off axis.
Yeah.
And then just a Valhalla Vintage. Just like let it rip.
Yeah. Because I feel like the whistles you're doing also like maybe it's just the processing you're doing before it hits, or maybe it's just you have a wonderful whistle, but it always sounds like thick.
Yeah. Maybe it's just.
Yeah. There you go. There it is.
Is it just my voice whistling?
I don't know. Because so funny, because like one of my favorite artists of all time is this guy, indie artist Andrew Bird. I don't know if you've ever.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, I love it. He's like quite possibly the greatest whistler of all time. But it's like he's also like he's not even melodyning it. It's just like, oh, you're that good of a whistler. Oh man. Yeah, like he does it live, and you're just like, the fuck, like what's happening here? Anyway. But it's like you guys do like the pop version of it, which I fucking love. It has its place. It's really good.
Yeah. Whistles, pedal steels. It's all just like, I guess like it goes back to like the character of the like thing that then can enable whatever like melodic part.
Yeah. Are you compressing it a lot?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm running it probably through a vocal chain if I had to guess.
You're just like running it through there.
Yeah, I don't think I'm putting like too much thought into it. I mean, definitely with regards to like the reverb and space of it and the tuning of it.
Right.
But yeah, it turned out all right on Vegas.
I think so. I think it was like a thing when I was just like, you know, I always do like a re-listen of like a lot of the songs that like the producers work on that are guests on the thing, just to kind of be like, okay, what questions to ask, whatever. That was like the one that was like, man, like that's a great sounding fucking whistle.
Yeah, dude, I really think it's all just mic stuff. That's like the main thing about just like I think Buzi stuff is like there's so much out of like how do you place the mic and how do you play it and who's playing it on what guitar.
Yeah.
And like,
well, as far as like his vocal, like what are you guys normally recording out with him?
We were recording at Sean's old place primarily. Vegas was different and Let It Burn was different. Yeah. But oh yeah, there might have been some others that he cut in Nashville as well. But and I can't speak to what mics those were on.
Just normally.
But yeah, I feel like it's usually some kind of U87 clone or version. The majority that we cut at Sean's house were on this Mojave. I forget what.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
But it's great. And then it would go through this. He has this thing like a Hazel rig.
Yeah, no.
Sounds dope.
Yeah. Dave has one. David Arkwright, our mutual buddy. He's like obsessed with the Hazel rig stuff.
Yeah, we would just cut him on that. I mean, there's this like Neve tube mic that he has that we used for Let It Burn. And then I was for like, because honestly, I cannot overestimate how down bad I was. So like I had my like 2018 laptop that's like dying where I think Vegas I had to like freeze and bounce out stems and reload like at least 5 times.
Yep. Also those like shitty 2018 MacBooks were so bad.
Yeah, they're the loudest fan ever.
They were
and they were designed to be so like slim, but for it was a terrible year for MacBooks.
They were horrible. Best day of my life is when I got rid of that laptop and got a new laptop.
I mean, I was pretty ecstatic. I'm still so ecstatic about it. Like having a laptop that actually...
It just works.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. It also is like, there's so many times I'll listen to old things and I'm like, God, dude, why is my production so bad?
Yeah.
And then just having a new laptop being like, oh, dude, no, it was just because like half my time producing was spent troubleshooting.
Dude, same.
And
like that's why I'm telling people where it's like, you know where you should invest? Like put the money towards a good laptop.
Yeah.
Because like the amount of time you will save, like not having to like commit things and bounce things down and like troubleshoot whatever, where it's like so much of my time on those like crappy ass Mac. I don't care if they come after Apple. Those are fucking horrible. But like I spent so much time just like dealing with bullshit. And now I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. The bullshit still happens. I think
it still happens, but it's like
anytime it's a really good song, there's always bullshit.
Oh God! But like now, it's like it's so. Anyway, I don't want to hark on that, but okay. So
that's actually a really good point, though. Yeah. Probably the best investment is like a really great laptop.
Yeah.
Over everything else.
I mean, I know it's hard to like have people swallow. You know,
it's hard to stomach. Yeah.
Right, like a $3,000 to $5,000 purchase, but like Apple has the financing things, which like I'm not telling everyone to like go put shit on a credit card. But like if you're investing in yourself and you're in modern music production, like a laptop is the first thing.
Yeah, more important than even because if you have a laptop that's powerful enough, you really don't.
I mean, that's half the battle.
Yeah,
right there.
Because you can do everything else in the box, and like sure, okay, it would be nice to have whatever UAD plugin or you get a laptop and you get Slate Digital.
Right,
I love Slate Digital.
Oh, they're great. Yeah.
Between those two, you kind of have all the tools you need for a long time.
Yeah,
and like a Shure mic.
That's it. Just get SM7.
Yeah, SM7.
There you go. I just got you're the first one to use that mic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just got that one.
Is this the new one with the
No,
boost?
No,
not with the cloud lifter?
No, because I have like cloud lifters and stuff. So
I don't have cloud lifters.
Oh, I have 3.
So. I have to get a new SM7.
Yeah, well, you just missed the sale, the Black Friday sales.
There's probably a Cyber Monday sale.
Well, that was yesterday.
I feel like they always extend it.
Just hit up Sweetwater. Just be like, can you just like do the sale for me? And they'll probably do it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, they'll do it.
I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
That's why I got that one. I was like, oh, it's a Black Friday sale.
I bought so much Black Friday stuff, and none of it was that.
Oh God, I know. I only got it because of the podcast. It was like I was using this and another mic, and the other mic worked, but
yeah,
I
feel like I was like moving with trepidation in terms of upgrading stuff. And then it like kind of spiraled a bit, but like not too crazy.
No, as it does.
But like enough. But yeah, I'm up now 4 microphones.
There you go. I mean,
none of them the SM7. No. I have one, but it's all messed up.
They're worth it. Hey gang, I just wanted to pop in here to let you know that the best way you can help this podcast grow is to rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts. It tells the algorithm to push our show to other listeners so we can grow, and it's one of, if not the best way to help support this podcast. So if you wouldn't mind, take a second to rate this podcast. Sharing it with your friends would be amazing too. All right, back to the pod. Okay, I want to move on to the deep dive into the songs here. First song we're going to talk about is the biggest song of the year, a bar song, Tipsy by Shaboozey. Kind of quickly, talk about the song's creation and how it kind of got started.
We were supposed to finish another song. It was like a Saturday, and we were like, okay, we got to like iron out finishing this song. And then it was literally like a little over a year ago, maybe like a year and a week, which is, bananas and important to remember. But we were... Yeah, Buzi mentioned, like, he's always loved 2000s hip-hop, and he was talking about flipping, like, a 2000s hip-hop song. He's saying, like, oh, J-Kwon, you know, like, everybody at the bar getting tipsy. And both Sean and I were like, oh, man, that's fucking awesome. So so then we're just exploring, like, Sean hit the chords, and we, you know, off to the races.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, dude, it just, like, fell out.
Quick
it was
right,
just so easy and so, like, all of it. And then I remember after because I was supposed to hang out with my girlfriend, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I cannot hang out. Like, this is too good. And she was like, what is it? And I was like, oh, it's like a country version of Tipsy by J-Kwon. And she was like, oh, that sounds great.
Yeah. Great.
I was like, amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Dude, was that because I was going back and I didn't realize you guys, Shaboozey released the demo version of the song. Was it? It's on there. I mean, I don't know how much of a demo it is.
Where is it?
It's on Spotify.
I don't think it... Wait, is it different?
It says... I mean, it's definitely different. It's like the guitars sound different. I was going to ask if it was the same vocal.
What?
Yeah, I'm so glad. You just type in like a bar song demo and it's on Spotify. They released it.
But I'm not... it's not on this page.
Oh, it's there. I just listened to it yesterday. That's crazy.
Wait.
If you just type in on Spotify, like a bar song demo.
Wait. Oh, it is there.
Yeah.
Is this our day of?
That's it sounds like
our day of is just available?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like the demo to me.
Yeah,
that was, I think, our day of.
That's crazy.
I can't believe that's on there. But I love that they put it on there, though. It's important.
I think it's cool. I think it just shows that like the song is there.
Yeah, because I mean, the initial idea of the song, I mean, you know, there's not that much to it.
Right, it's just a song.
But then there was like probably hundreds of hours put in after to like just make it sound like how it felt, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you listen to that and you're like, oh, okay, this is a good ass song. And then you hear what it became and you're like, you know, you and Sean put such, I mean, I'm going to just say that again. You and Sean made it sound so good. You could have so easily. I think it's so easy sometimes to call it in when you know a song is so great because you're like, oh, the song's great, like it'll do fine. But it's like, nah. Like
I would also say credit to Buzi because his bar is so high, which is also like, especially after working with Savin, like I just got very used to being the last person wanting to try one more thing in the room, which, you know, it happens. And a lot of times you don't need to do that last tweak.
Right.
But I just think it's worth it. It's just so worth it to always keep going.
No, that's like, you know, the old like Max Martin way of doing things. Like you spend a lot of time on these songs and like when you know it's good, you got to put the work and the time in and like make, you know, no stone left unturned. But I want to talk a little bit more about the production side of the song. I wrote down acoustics are the perfect acoustic sound. How are you and Sean like doing acoustic guitars?
That's so funny.
Yeah,
we have like an ongoing argument with Buzi where he'll be like, I don't know, I don't think the guitars of that song sounds that great.
I think it's like
we were hoping that we would get the Record of the Year nomination so we could argue that the guitar sounded better. And literally I was like, we didn't get that. And he's like, yeah, man, I mean the guitars don't sound that.
Oh, I think to me it's like iconic, like when you think good guitar tone, it's that.
I mean, that's just the Mojave and just good playing. It's like a Yamaha. I don't even know if I'd have to ask Sean, but I don't even think. Yeah, I think that was this Yamaha that wasn't like particularly nice.
Right.
And I think he went on to after maybe like he did like the Nashville tuning. You know what I'm talking about? The like all 12 string.
Yeah,
they're fire.
They're fun.
Amazing.
They're a lot of fun to like add on.
But yeah. Yeah, it was just that, just my 12th fret, like probably like a foot away, roughly,
12,
just using your ear. It's really so much of it is playing.
Are you
99% of acoustic guitar sound is just a good performance.
Are you guys working in Sean's studio or your studio when you guys were working together?
For this album, it was a lot of Sean's studio.
Does he have like a good sounding room to record? Because
the room, it sounded fine. It wasn't even particularly treated. It was like room in a Van Nuys house.
There you go.
Sometimes it sounded good, and he had some treatment and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's really, dude, Sean's a beast.
He's just a great guitar,
he knows his room.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like just that the distance. There's a lot of more cool, fun guitar stuff we did down the line, but I definitely think the main one is just in the box processing.
That's the thing. It's like
Mojave.
I feel like the cool, fun guitar stuff is always actually easier sometimes because you're just like, oh, it's cool and different.
Yeah.
But as opposed to just like getting like a great acoustic guitar sound, it's like sometimes it's really fucking tough.
Yeah, you know? Now I just got this like stereo AEA.
I got the ribbon. Yep.
Yeah, and that's so fun.
Yep.
So I've been like using that all the time, and I know Sean got some ribbons, which he was using on the Good News, the last Buzi song.
I'm like obsessed with ribbons. I'm about to like try and buy a whole bunch of like vintage ones and like.
I am as well, but I was thinking about getting some for this piano I just got,
and
then I ended up getting these. Have you heard of Oma?
Yeah.
I ended up getting 2 of those. I just liked how they sound.
Yeah, that's
I don't know what it was.
Dude, but however they sound, it's like I hear I have some condensers on my piano, but then I'll bring out my AEA the ribbon, the stereo ribbon to like use that sometimes too. Just kind of depends.
I could maybe try that now. I just have been loving gang vocals and guitars.
It sounds so good.
Yeah,
dude, like having like a stereo gang vocal thing is just
awesome.
like, dude, it's just great. You like, and it makes actually moving around the room make a little bit more sense where you're like, oh, now you're like in the left, you're in the right. Speaking of gang vocals, I'm glad you brought that up. There's so much like really cool crowd noises and claps and all that stuff. Was that all done in the room or a lot of those just samples?
There was maybe a tiny bit of sample stuff, but most of it was different stages of working on production, different people in the room, hyping people up. And there's all kinds of silly shit we did there was we played Tipsy for the first time at the showcase at Winston House, and it went so well that we played it a second time, and like people were losing their minds. It's the first time anybody heard it, and we were like, whoa, this is crazy, people love this song. But we took there was some video of it, and so I took the recording of the video and nested that for parts.
That's so cool.
And we did as much stuff as we could to make it just genuinely feel because to me it's like a crowd participation song.
It's 1000%.
It's really even going to see him play it is less about seeing him do it as much as you being a part of everybody enjoying it, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just did a bunch of that, and then it's funny. It's you have the bros over, you're cutting crowd vocals, and then you're like, man, this bar sounds very there's way too many dudes here. And then you're like, all right, we gotta invite all the girls, gotta do all that, gotta even out the ratio.
This is a big sausage fest, guys.
It's so funny.
It's not the vibe we're going for.
Just a bunch of guys doing gang vocals definitely gets pretty masculine. It gets pretty sea shanty.
And sticking with this song or just Shaboozey in general, I know a lot of our listeners, and if you feel comfortable saying, what's the usual chain that you guys like to use, and also if you feel comfortable talking about this, the auto-tune settings that he likes to use on his voice too.
We usually don't track with auto-tune, and then it's really to taste.
Right,
it's really
he doesn't. I always say singers don't always need it, but it's just the sound sometimes.
Yeah. Well, we melodyne. It depends on the song too.
Right.
I feel like a song like Vegas had a little more.
Right.
But a lot of melodyning maybe into an auto tune to get a bit of that sound.
Yes.
And then even automating tune speed for certain lines.
That's the thing that people sleep on.
Oh, it's great.
It's people don't realize you can and should automate auto-tune.
Yeah, it's just I know you're the most vocal production guy ever, and that's I feel like that's such a huge part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that we have our different it's all the same general principles of whatever UAD. I know for me, I'll do 1176 into a 2A, but I'm always trying new things. I just got this lunchbox that's I'm running things. They're just hitting more compression on the way in.
Same.
So I'm doing way less.
1176 in the box, how hard do you generally like to hit it?
Not that crazy because I like to have that and the 2A.
Right.
And then even then, I feel like depending on the performance, I'll throw the 2A first. If it's like I don't like when the 2A is just like going crazy with the peaks. So usually I'll have it hit the 1176 so it's catching more of the peaks.
Right.
And then do the 2A. But if it's more consistent, I can have the 2A earlier.
First, yeah.
And then, I mean, I love, like, I go pretty crazy on, like, my vocal bus, and I know Sean does too.
Yeah.
And we do some different things, and there's cross-pollination.
What do you like to do? It's your episode.
I like to do, once again, it's evolving.
Yeah.
Because before
it always is.
It was with a mic that was less bright, and now I use a brighter mic.
Yeah.
But I would, for a while, and I still love the sound of it, is, like, a Slate, like, virtual mix rack into a C4 waves into a vitamin and into a Pro L.
Oh, nice.
And so the Slate rack, I have like 8 different things that are EQs boosting like high end the tiniest bit.
Right.
So like
a lot of things doing a little bit.
Yeah, but just like a little bit, but it like just makes it so much brighter and more expensive without being harsh.
Right.
And then the C4, there's like a one of the vocal presets just to give it like a little squeeze at the end. And then there's like a vocal presence setting on Vitamin that is great, but like so obnoxious. So you always like take it down a lot.
Bring it back.
But great. And then one thing, the other is like what the TRX, am I saying that right?
Yeah.
T-Rax, that's what it is. T-Rax, like classic multi-band limiter.
Yeah, okay.
Is pretty fire and does some pretty heavy work.
Does a thing.
On the thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It definitely really depends, but I feel like, I don't know.
We always have our things that like, I have like my vocal chain that I use, and then it's like you always switch it up.
Yeah, I just got a bunch of UAD stuff where I'm like trying to figure out when I want to use the 3A.
Right.
And then, I went from using like a warm 87 to Cal has been loaning me his AKG C12.
Yeah.
Which is like, the difference of like an $800 to a $7,000 microphone. So
you make that jump and you're like, oh, this is what I've been missing.
And then having that going into, because everything for a long time was, I had a little bit of outboard and I just ditched it. And I was just straight into the Apollo, do it all in the box. But now I have like, I really want to get a Neve preamp. I got to switch out. I have this like Burl and this like Quagliardi or something.
Yeah.
That into a distressor. I have this little like EQ thing called the Doctor, which is great. And then into like a Shadow Hills, like mono opto.
Nice. Yeah.
But going all of that in the box, then into like, now I feel like I do like the tiniest bit of that like brightening, but I haven't even been doing the C4 and the Vitamin. I've just been like throwing the T-Rax and like,
I mean, that's what you get when you go through analog gear, is that like all of that kind of like saturation that you would get from like a Vitamin sometimes or other plugins. You're like, oh, now it's just there.
Yeah.
And it just sounds good.
Yeah, it's so great too. Yeah. It's just like so light and like, there's no processing and it just sounds so much cleaner. If only I had it when I had a shittier laptop.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, right. That's what happens where it's like now I end up using so much less processing power because I'm just like getting good sounds going in. And like you always wonder where it's like, you'd get like sessions or like you'd go with Mix of the Masters or YouTube and like see like these big producers like sessions and you're like, they only have 3 things on their fucking vocal chain. And it's like, right, but they have like a $20,000 outboard thing. And
it just all adds up. The outboard adding up is so real and just bananas.
Makes life easy. Okay, love it. We're going to go on to the next song, which is an earlier Shaboozey record that I hadn't heard until you told me to check it out. But I want to talk about Winning Streak. And I listened to the whole album.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, because I remember I checked it out like some of the earlier stuff when you were working on it, like when we were like hanging out.
Yeah.
It was years ago, and like obviously like I didn't like keep up with it because I'm a horrible friend. But no, but I was like, oh yeah, like this shit is crazy. And like even hearing how he sings Winning Streak, that I call it like not giving a fuck about cringe.
Yeah.
I think is just like so important. I think it's like the testament of a true artist.
Yeah.
And I think that's what that album really shows. But I wanted to talk about, I don't know how much you remember because the song came out almost 6 years ago now, but what that opening sound of the record.
I remember that.
Oh, what is it? Because it's so cool.
So it's we were at the studio that had an OP1 and like one of the settings was that kind of major 7th chord.
Yeah.
And it did that. And what I did is I like warped the hell out of it and like just made it like super long. And then even the original like do 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 like was that OP one thing, but then instead of using that sound in the song, I like remade it on Operator in Ableton. You know, I was listening back to that song because I knew we were going to talk about it. And I was like, dude, I think most of these sounds are just Operator.
Yeah, Operator's great.
Yeah. It was just me nerding out over whatever synthesis. And like, yeah, it's funny listening back to old things.
Are you still mostly in Ableton?
Yeah, I'm pretty much entirely
What does
in
Sean
Ableton.
work in?
He's in Pro Tools.
Okay, because
I need to do more. I'm increasingly more every day dipping into Pro Tools more and more because it's just better to end there.
Yeah, I agree. That's like I start in Ableton, then I finish in Pro Tools.
Yeah,
that's been my workflow for a while.
It just sounds better. It's just also.
Do you notice that? Like, I notice it whenever I go from Ableton to Pro Tools. I take my sounds out of Ableton and put it into Pro Tools, and immediately I'm like, oh, this sounds better.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, okay.
And people try to tell me that there's not a difference.
There definitely is.
And people will be like, no, I've like done a million things. I've done that. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what it is. I like play things out of Pro Tools and it sounds sick.
Yeah. I don't know why either, but it's like, I'm not the only person that thinks like that. Even there's that pretty famous like Timbaland like TikTok video of like him being like, Pro Tool sounds the best. He's like, Timbaland thinks like, he's like, you can make great sounding records on Logic, but Logic sounds like shit. And I actually agree with that. Logic has a sound. But I think most of those Logic records are being mixed in Pro Tools anyway.
Yeah, so, I mean, Pro Tools just sounds better. Yeah. I don't know what it is. I really don't.
I don't know either. I just can't describe. It's like literally because I do it every day.
I just like also that Pro Tools is it's very good for just audio, obviously. Yes. But yeah, like it's just so mix oriented. Yeah. It's so like high level technical, which is probably why it wasn't like the first thing to learn.
No.
But Ableton just becomes so clearly like deficient in certain ways when you get to like truly finishing things. It also, that's a little bit of a lie too, because Ableton can pretty much do anything at this point now. Yeah. It doesn't sound as good though, weirdly.
I just don't know what it is, which is crazy to me. The other thing I want to talk about, kind of more, I guess, like the earlier kind of trappy, more electric drums, well, sampled drums as opposed to real drums kind of stuff. Obviously, I'm assuming you're doing a much different thing than what you were doing on Winning Streak, but what kind of like, do you do any drum bus processing? How do you like to approach that?
Dude, I don't even know if I had a drum bus then. I don't think I knew what a bus was. Yeah, now, I mean, there's so much like layering and thought.
Right.
And like, oh, okay, I want like the like 2K of like this clap.
Right.
Area, but then like turn it down and like just like a lot more thoughtful blending and like just, I mean, there's 10,000 hours alone between when I made that song and now.
Right. I mean, probably more than that. But what's like your like, again, not even specific to that song, but just speaking of drum bus, like what's like your like, if you had to give someone like a really quick hot tip?
Oh, quick hot tip would be one, like try like breaking the rules super hard and try throwing like RC20 or try throwing like Sketch Cassette or like Saturn and go crazy with it and just like get a vibe, because that's also like you're in the room and you're hearing a drum kit. Yeah. I think it's good to like hear what that's doing and try that. Two is like parallel compression and like automating parallel compression so that like in like when are you like just make the hook pop 10% very easily on a day of. Just like
I never thought to do.
You've never done that?
No, I mean I use parallel compression, but I've never thought to like automate it like that.
Oh yeah, it's so easy. It's just like throw it up in the hook,
right?
And now all of a sudden, the beat got bigger, but I don't know why.
Yeah,
and it's like, I know why.
Oh, that's a talk about a hot tip.
There you
go.
That's
a fucking
there you
great
go.
Hot.
And then
what do you usually like to use for compression wise for drums to like parallel
for parallel?
Yeah,
I've been using this. Sean put me onto it. There's a preset on Virtual Mix Rack called Drum Crusher.
Right.
That does exactly what you'd think it would.
Yeah.
I also like the drum bus in Ableton, that plugin.
Yeah, it's a great
It's
one.
like way too much. I mean, I do like 3%. Like not a lot.
Yeah.
I was using DS10, that one for a bit. But that also is like some of those, that's the thing with like a DS10 or RC20 or whatever. You can't do it in parallel, otherwise it phases.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I think, man, I can't believe you've not.
I just like it's never a thought I had, and then when you said it, I was like, of course that's what you do.
I mean, yeah, it's so funny how we like learn how to do shit. And then I always feel like everybody knows everything and I'm like playing catch up.
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, that's just like a thing where it's like usually most things are like, oh, yeah, I've done that. That I've never done.
Yeah. I need to remind myself that how much time I've spent producing and how far I've come, because a lot of times I'll just be like, yeah, but I like suck at this, right?
Right.
Which is so crazy that I still, I don't know, imposter syndrome on 10, I guess.
Still say that. Oh my God. A little bit more about this winning streak record. I was curious, what made you want to talk about that record?
I just thought it was interesting because it's like 8 years old. And it was like the first song that we dropped that like kind of changed things for us.
Right.
Where it's like that was the song that got whatever attention. It was also a song that like I had zero, there was no technical anything. There was like some, but it was probably like a Coursera class on Ableton that I watched while I had my day job. Like,
did you also mix and master that record, or they had
no, we had there was a couple mixes and masters. We had like some people come in and help. But yeah, I mean, even then, like the record basically sounded like it did. There's definitely like a knock and modernity that we got from, I think Jason Joshua mixed at one point. So obviously, definitely a real mixer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of elements, a lot of like manic energy in the studio, just trying different things. I think
it feels
being
like
in a studio
record
also made it easier. And I was like, playing a Strat through this compressor, being like, this sounds so good. Like not seeing him taking off like 20 dB.
Right.
But it like, it works.
Oh, so you were like in the studio with an engineer?
No. You just like in a studio as opposed to my studio apartment.
Okay, I understand, yeah.
But definitely engineering. Yeah, like I tracked that and did all of that. But yeah, the other thing I loved listening back to that was just like, it's kind of like how, I don't know, we just like get so caught up on technical stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
And like a lot of that was just all like weird little synth patches I made probably while like up at 3 a.m.
Right, just like messing around.
Yeah. Or also even choices there were like, yeah, let's put like an 80s guitar solo at the end.
Right.
And like that was, okay, why did we do that? I don't know.
I mean, I just like that whole first album, because you did pretty much all of it.
Yeah.
And you hear where you're like, okay, this is Shaboozey, and you hear so much of what's in that record, in that album, in his last two albums, where you're like, it's there, and now it's just like he's continued, and you both have continued to grow and elevate, and it's like, I don't know, I just found it really interesting to like hear that and see where he went to, and hearing you speak earlier about like, yeah, he was always kind of doing the country thing, but we just didn't put it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, that was the whole conversation always was like, he would either say like, everybody wants me to rap.
Yeah.
Or like and like, I'm like, well, I mean, you don't need to.
Right.
But also it's like, what is rap? And what is not rap?
Right.
Like, even like going back, like I feel like I used to think of it as like, oh, like Drake, like that's when singing and rapping met. But like all of it has been like, what's it? You Got What I Need? The Bismarcky? That's Bismarcky, right?
Favorite songs of all
He
time.
is definitely singing that hook.
Yeah.
And like it goes.
I mean, you could even argue that his rapping is singing.
Yeah, it's all melodic.
Right,
it's all. I nerd out about that too.
Right.
Where it's like, do you end up on a line when it's a question?
Right.
Like even that. What's that JP Sachs? If the world was ending, you come over, right?
Right.
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 Like it feeling like a question makes it hit. I don't know. I always think it's like weird how the lyric interplays with the melody.
I mean, listen, this, you know me, vocal production that's what I do when I'm vocal producing. It's like little things like that.
Yeah, that's everything.
Right. It's like that's what I spend the most amount of time on, like sing like this, try like this. And I don't, people always ask like, what made you, like, how do you know what choices you're making are the right choice? I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I never have a plan, but I'm always just like, I'm open to trying a million different things with a mic.
Yeah.
And then I give myself a day, and then I go in the next day and like comp it, and I have so much more clarity to be like, ooh, that's sick. Ah, that was a horrible idea,
Interesting. All those so you go back in on the comp. Like
I need a day away because I'm so in it.
Interesting. I like that idea. I want to try that. I usually do like, I try not to overcoach. I try to get like a bunch of takes. And then I also try to, if I have like a Because usually by that point the song is in enough that I'm starting to like, okay, how do I like enhance this with whatever? And then I'm just, I don't know, I feel like I'm just flying.
Yeah, I mean,
I
like,
love that. It's so fun recording like a dope vocalist.
yes. I give like way more direction when I'm doing a pitch thing because I'm really trying to shape it.
Yeah, that
when it's
makes
with,
sense.
there's artists who I've worked with where I was like, oh, I didn't have to give you any notes. Like maybe, like I work with Benson Boone a bunch and like the amount of notes I've given him are so small, but like the ones that I did give him were like really big,
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's like, yeah, you got most of this, but then I'm like, oh, try it like this. And then he does that. You're like, and then I don't know, it's just like this magical thing where it's like he sees what I'm trying to do and he,
Yeah.
and just gets it.
It's just good if you do that early
Yes.
in the take.
Yes.
That's the thing. I feel like, yeah, you can go back and like cut something a million times, but it's just, I feel like you get like 7 strong takes max.
I mean, you'd be
like
surprised
options.
some of these people. Like what I like to do is I always give the singers like the first like 3 to 5 takes. I don't say anything.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because I'm just like, I want to see what you do. I don't want to influence you at all. I want to hear what you do. And then I have those takes. And then I start allowing myself to like give them notes and be like, let's try this. Because then when I go back in the next day, it's so clear to me what it should be.
Yeah.
Whether I was like, I put right in quotes, but whether I was right or the singer was right, I immediately know.
Yeah.
Like what it should be.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's a fun way to do it. I don't want to take up too much more of your time here, but I got a couple more questions. You've been so fucking amazing. I love everything you've been saying.
Oh, thanks.
The one thing I want to talk about is your collaboration with Sean.
Yeah.
And co-producing like that. What's kind of your guys' workflow?
I mean, it started because Buzi is the first thing that we really worked together on. But it started with, we had these records, different songs that either he had worked on or I worked on or we were getting that we hadn't touched.
Right.
And then it's like, maybe I'd lay some stuff down. And we were doing a lot at his studio. So I would, at my spot, like track ideas and get stuff going ahead of time. But then once we're in and going, I mean, like we have the same kind of manic energy that I get from like a really good session. We'll have just producing, which is so fun. And yeah, I mean, we just like kind of see the same thing like pretty quick. We were working the other day just in the room. It was probably a couple months ago, but like I remember we were talking to the artist and then I start like kind of catch a riff and play a riff and he immediately starts going and then I'm like, yeah, dude, I feel like this is like 99 Problems.
Yeah.
And he was like, I was just gonna say that.
Yeah.
And it's like he could tell that from just the riff I was starting to play.
Right. The feel.
And it's just like glued together. And then I mean, I think that because I come from like a very like songy background where I was like I just wanted to do music and do songs. I didn't know much more than that. And then like Sean comes from like a worship music background where there's like hundreds of stacks of things.
That makes so much sense.
He is incredible at the like, just knowing how to weave all these parts in and get them all and get the best out of things and have something that is very complex under the hood, but when you're listening to it is very simple with regards to ideas.
Yeah.
And so, I think that it's just easy, bro.
It just works. That's what a good collaboration is at the end of the day. It should just be easy. Doesn't mean you don't butt heads at certain times.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day.
I even like, I'm sure there are things that we've been like, I don't know, I feel this or I need that.
Yeah.
But most of the time I feel like I'm like, am I tripping? And he's like, no, you're not.
No, yeah.
And vice versa, where we're like both kind of digging, hearing for the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I have that a lot. Obviously, we brought up David,
yeah.
But like Dave and I, we used to work a lot more together when we shared a studio. But it was like the same kind of thing where it was just like we could just in a session like look at each other and just immediately know, like, oh, this is sick, or like, oh, someone's fucking up.
That's where like collaboration is just so fun, and the more time goes on, the more you're like, I have no desire to make something by myself.
No, God, dude, I've been doing it a lot more lately, and it's just like I love it and hate it at the same time. But if I could like co-produce every record and not have to worry about like all the bullshit that comes with that, mostly on like the business side of things sometimes, where it's just like the artist only has this big of a budget.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck, well now it doesn't become like worth it to like co-produce because like we're both going to get,
yeah. I mean, that's definitely a thing.
It's always tough. It's the thing.
The one thing I was talking to my manager about this earlier, where I feel like everybody who is like, you're almost, I don't know, I'm sure there is, but like there's almost no number like 100% or like smashes.
Yeah, they're hard to come by.
Yeah.
It's like Phineas is maybe the only one that's doing it lately.
Yeah, but
Like-
even that being said, like I feel like everybody who like produces should
Yeah.
spend like some time every year like writing by themselves.
Yes.
So that they at least can go through the process of coming up with a line and hating yourself for coming up with that and doing it over and over until you get something that you're like, this is fine, I guess. Because then I feel like you go into sessions with people who write every day and are just doing that, and you know how to like can meet their level and not overproduce.
I'm glad because I didn't do that for years. Mind you, I was like the main songwriter in my bands for years. I was the singer. I was like always writing by myself, and then for years I didn't. And like my first like 5 or 6 years in LA, maybe even longer, I didn't write a single song by myself. And then the pandemic happened, and I had so much more time by myself. And like now I don't do it that often, but I will write like 2 to 3 songs a year, like 100%.
Yeah.
By myself, like just to do it. And I usually only show my publishers like maybe one of those a year where I'm just like, this one's good. Like the other ones were like really not good. I'm just gonna keep them back here. But I think it's important to like
2 or 3 is honestly the perfect amount if you're like a working producer who is like really there to produce, because it's like you don't want to waste your time.
Right.
And like it's not even, I think, about proving something to yourself, although it is very satisfying because I got signed as a producer, which was weird as somebody who like I felt like a song guy.
Right.
And then over the years getting to the point, I remember like, because I would be like, do I want to be an artist? And then I turned in a song to my managers that I had like 100%ed, and they were like, this is fire, like we're gonna pitch it around. And I was like, oh, that's all I ever wanted. It's that I'm good enough to do that. Then I'm like, all right, cool, that is easy. I
have one song that like I did 100% by myself that like my team is like everyone loves, but it's like it's kind of a ballad, so it's like, so those are sometimes hard to place, but everyone's like, I'm still waiting. I'm like, oh, I want it so bad. I almost got it placed once and I was so excited.
That'd be really satisfying.
Yeah. Oh God. I want nothing more than like, for whatever reason.
I get it. It's just so validating. Peak validating. I'm sure there's also like getting signed as an artist.
Yeah.
Is like, so, I don't know. The whole thing is so weird. Well, even like when I was told, like, they're like, oh, you're a producer. I was like, oh, I guess I'm a producer. Right. Like I didn't like choose, music was what I wanted to do. So then, like, I don't know, it's good to do that. And just from a, like, writing perspective, like, I feel like there's also, like, weird in the world enough where people are always talking about even the business side or the politics of all of that. And I just think it's, like, we all could understand each other more. Like, the time it takes to finish producing something.
Right.
But 2, the emotional vulnerability of producing something.
Yeah.
And the, like, making something, you're a 3-year-old and like it's not like it seems more technical, but it's still just as like emotional and like you're putting yourself out there.
Yes.
And then songwriters, I feel like, to have to come in and have the burden of the song on you, even with other people, but you're doing that all the time, and you're just constantly like plucking whatever ideas and concepts and things you can sink your teeth into, and then you're like, I am now responsible for making it. How, you feel like you're writing the same song.
No,
there's so many battles on both sides. Yeah. It's a raw deal either way.
I mean, both songwriting and producing, but I feel like especially producing, right? Because I don't always do it, but I'll produce out songs where it's like I didn't write it, and like people would be like, so like, what's your plan? I'm like, I don't have a fucking plan. How I produce literally every song I've ever produced is it's like I'm like a kid with like a box of Legos.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I guess I'll make something and like just see where the things take me. And like that's how I produce. I'm just like kind of flying, blind and just seeing trusting my gut and all that. Okay, but I want to go on to the next segment here. Next segment is called Plug or Unplug. And I want your quick takes on a couple pieces of gear, plugins and stuff. Where plug, you love it. Unplug, you're not a fan of it.
Okay.
And bypass or make inactive if you've never heard of it.
Okay.
Okay. So, and you can explain why or why not. Totally up to you. First plugin is the Tal Juno, the Toku Audio Line Juno VST.
Haven't used, so bypass.
Yeah, bypass. Yeah.
I've used the raw. That's not the Raw and Cloud one.
No.
Right?
The Roland Cloud one is great.
Yeah.
Sometimes I actually think it's like, I love all the Roland Cloud stuff. I think the Tal Juno, which is like, I think it's like $50.
Is it better?
Oh, yes. It like does the Juno thing more.
Oh, I get
and like
it.
I have a real Juno. And yeah, so I highly recommend the tall Juno. It's like the only thing they make, and it's just like legendary. And you
Okay,
can find,
I need that.
And what I love
I'm
about
gonna
it
ask
too,
you about it later.
yeah, no, what I love about it too is that like you can find so many like presets for it, which you can't for Rolling Cloud.
Yeah, the
it's-
Rolling Cloud is limited
yeah,
on the preset.
But they sound
vibe.
great. Next plugin, my personal favorite, Spectrasonics Omnisphere.
Controversial. I'm gonna say Unplug.
No,
I love Omnisphere.
yeah,
Like I get it. I think it's awesome.
yeah,
It kind of has like, unless I know what specifically I'm going for, I have a shit ton of contact libraries that I think are more inspiring for like random sample vibes and stuff. And it's just, maybe I just am due for more time with it. But I think by the time I got it, I had like gotten enough other ways to get at what I like that I haven't like really dove in. It sounds incredible though.
Yeah.
And you can do incredible things with it.
Here's my tip for you on it, because this is how I use it. It's a kind of like a flying blind approach, but it's literally when I'm like, kind of like, I'm like, I don't really know what I want to do today. I'll open it up and I'll just hit shuffle.
Yeah.
And I'll just find a sound.
That's the times that I do use it.
Yeah.
Is doing that kind of thing. I just haven't been in a starting things from software place for a minute. It's usually an acoustic guitar.
Which I love.
Or, you know, maybe a splice loop, certain things.
Yeah.
A lot of times though, it's like chords and more song rooted now to start.
I've come up with like arguably my greatest riffs just like randomly opening up Omnisphere and just being like, well, let's see what I come up with.
Well, you know, 2025.
I mean, the build the bitch riff was written like that. I just opened it up.
Really?
Like we already had the concept, but like I just kind of like went through like things that I just started playing the riff from the sound. Anyway, it's the whole
great
thing.
riff.
Thank you. Next one is Fab Filter's Saturn.
Oh, definite plug.
Yeah.
Definitely
what do you
plug.
like about it?
It can just do a ton. Like you can get it. That's one where I've had like programmed drums and I've thrown it on and dialed it in, and then it feels like a straight up like drum loop that you're like sampling from wherever. And it's just so, it's just powerful. Like you can like, you have so many bands. You can adjust the brightness and EQ of each band.
Yep.
You have all of the drive. You have a dry wet of the whole thing. It's, I cannot. I still don't use it enough, and it's like it's so good. Vocals,
are you mostly
drums, master.
Are you sticking to Saturn 1 or Saturn 2 most of the time?
I feel like usually Saturn 2.
Yeah,
I can't remember the difference.
Saturn 2 just has a couple more features. That's about it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like I haven't reached for Saturn because Saturn 2 does everything the same.
The only reason that I wouldn't reach for Saturn is because old habits die hard CPU wise.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, maybe let me not. But I mean, I'm essentially, Saturn just enables like under the hood what I would do. Like I do all the time, like throw decapitator on something and like turn the like dark bright knob like slightly, and that's it.
That's it.
And
that's all you need
like
sometimes.
That's where like Saturn would let me do more of that. On a higher level.
I can love it. Okay, next plugin, Waves Kramer tape.
I would say, I mean, in fairness, if I said unplug on Omnisphere, definitely unplug on that. But I'm going to revise Omnisphere to a plug. I'm just not as enthused as other people. I would say Kramer tape is a plug. I use it. It's very consistent. It's reliable. I like just having variety in tape kind of mods, especially. I feel like that's one of the more like, I'm not looking for like crazy zany, like the most vibey of all time.
No,
I'm
that's
looking
not
for
vibey.
like
That's
a touch of work being done. Yeah. Drum bus, vocals.
I used to use it so much more often, and then I stopped because I love like Sketch Cassette and a bunch of the other ones.
Use it on everything.
Okay, this next plugin is one we ask every guest because we get wildly different answers. CLA vocals.
I used to use CLA vocals a lot. So when I was, fortunate enough to work with the MXM type the producers, shout out Rami Yacoub. I was just working with him, and he's still using CLA vocals.
Crazy.
Yeah, which I mean, not my thing. Not my thing. It's too much under the hood. It's a lot of stuff, but I used it for years. It's also like through an SM7, like it kind of works. But I'll tell you what I use instead of CLA vocal now
what's that?
Is the Spirit, the Lou Bell.
Yeah.
That one is dope for like real quick, throw it on. like on a SM7 vocal and just like
It
move
just
on.
works.
If your computer is dying,
Yeah.
it's a great choice.
There's the other one that the Josh Goodwin one I'm blanking out on. Oh God.
I'm intrigued though. I love all of that.
I'll tell you about it after. I'm just like blanking out on the name right now and it's really bugging me. I'll put it in the notes of the show after and I'll text you about it. But it's really good too. It's like more for multiple things. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the last plugin here. Last plugin for our listeners and for you, it's like a super widely used plugin. We spoke about it a little bit already. Guitar Rig.
Oh, Guitar Rig kicks ass.
Yeah.
It gets better and better, and it's kind of unfair because I spend all this money on like Neural DSP and all this other stuff, but it's got such creative, like inspiring sounds, and it just sounds great.
I love plugins with a great preset library.
Yeah, incredible preset library.
Because I like sometimes where it's just like, I'll click around and happy accidents galore.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times I'm just looking for, I don't know, it goes back and forth. Because sometimes I'm like looking for a super specific thing where I'm like going to dial it in forever. But a lot of times I feel like I'm so part oriented and like composition oriented that I don't want to get too in the mud on this. So like, let me get like a surf guitar vibe and then write the surfy part.
Right, because you just want to go.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And that's what like, that's the magic thing about presets. Like I can just move. I can just go and like not have to think about this and like tweak later.
Yeah, I feel like preset tweaking is like the secret of everybody I've ever met that's a legend.
We're all doing it. So there's some people like, I don't do presets. It's like, why? You don't like saving time?
Or like you, I like nerding out and like synthesizing synths and stuff from scratch. But I also remember a really distinct moment where I think I had like the ego enough to be like, oh, we want that. Yeah, let me just make it. And like spent like 10 minutes trying to get it. And I'm like, why did I do that, dude? I definitely have the preset for it.
It's fucking nuts. Okay, that's going to wrap up Plug or Unplug. Last little bit of the pod, we always talk about advice you would maybe want to give your past self or younger producers who are listening to this. It's like a small bit of advice that...
There's so many and it really depends on the person, but I will reduce it to one, like, don't take, like, one, it's not like linear. Like, it could happen tomorrow. It could also happen forever away and you can't control that, but you can control showing up to work. I don't think you need to be like, even like, not every day you won't have the belief that today is the day that could change your life. That doesn't matter if you show up every day. And yeah, the other is like, one thing I wish I could have told myself is I was so stressed when I first got signed to Savin and I was getting in all these rooms. And I think that if I could have just had a little bit more fun as it was going, I think it would have yielded better results. And look, like now it's crazy that people would be like wanting to get a session with me, but like I definitely am going to be more excited about working with somebody who's green but excited and having a blast versus green and like in their head. And like, as much as like, that might seem unfair, because there was a lot that seemed unfair to me where it was like, I was like kind of raised in a situation where I felt like guilty inherently making music, but it's like, that's nobody else's problem but mine. So just go in and have fun.
I think that second piece of advice, like something I wish someone would have told me, where it's like you sign a deal and you're like, all right, now I got to make that money back. And like you get so into your head. And I always tell people, like, the second I stopped trying to write a hit every day is when I wrote a hit.
Yeah.
It's how it goes. It's just like, again, it's just like just having fun and relaxing. And I think that's the thing too, when like the quote unquote bigger producers I've worked with is like, no one is taking themselves too seriously.
No.
We're all just like hanging out and like vibing. And it's always like the people who like should not be taking themselves too seriously are the ones that do. And it just takes time. I was that way. It takes time to grow out of it.
I think I'll end. This is my last real piece. Is like as you come up, you're thinking the value of what you do is in the thing you made, and the value is in the reps that you've collected for yourself. So when you get hired to do anything, you're getting hired because you know how to do that task a gazillion times. Yep. And so your self-worth should not be from I made like a hit today, but that like, did you get a song today? Yeah. Did you like, just the consistency kind of going on with that. And not even that. It's also just, again, the relationships that you're making along the way. Yeah. It's so important. It's people don't realize that enough, where it's like,
make sure everyone has a good day. Not always an amazing song, but an amazing day.
Yeah. No,
You
that's
know?
huge.
You know, that's what you can walk away from.
That makes the second session, which makes
exactly
the hit.
right. Exactly. You need to like something to build off of, dude. I want to thank you so much for coming on the pod. You gave such amazing advice and so many great stories. Before we head out, and if there's nothing you want to say, we can cut this out. Before we head out, is there anything you want to plug or something you want to? Any shout outs before we wrap up?
I want to shout out my managers, Sif Hussein and Mike. Oh my God, I always do it. Bronsword. Fuck. Okay, my one manager, I said his last name wrong for years. Bronsword. Okay.
There you go.
I'll tell you that later.
Yeah.
I got to shout out Sif Hussein and Mike Bronsword, my managers who, you know, Sif was fucking loaning me money to look out for me in this past year.
That's amazing.
And just a team that really saw what I did. And I started working with them after the Sovereign thing, but they really just invested and have helped steer me towards the best part of my instincts. And I also want to thank Hannah Laskowski, my lovely girlfriend, who has dealt with my bullshit for years at this point, and it's finally paying off.
Listen, behind every good producer is a great partner.
Yeah.
that puts up with their bullshit.
Yeah.
Dude, with that, we're going to wrap the podcast. Thank you again to you, and thank you for our listeners. And have a good one, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Producer Points. Your support means the world to us. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, and share with fellow music enthusiasts. For an encore, check out our Spotify playlist featuring all the songs we've discussed on the show, giving you the perfect soundtrack to your creative journey. Additional audio and video editing for this episode was done by Nathan Rebello. Until next time, this is Justin Gamella.